Welcome to the Here's Waldo podcast, where we sit down with top visionaries and creatives in the video game industry. Together, we'll unravel their journeys and learn more about the path they're forging ahead. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Mintus, founder and CEO of Here's Waldo Recruiting, a boutique video game recruitment firm. This is the Here's Waldo podcast. In every episode, we dive deep into conversations with creatives, founders, and executives about what it takes to be successful. You can expect to hear valuable lessons from their journey and get a glimpse into the future of the industry. This episode is brought to you by Here's Waldo Recruiting, a boutique recruitment firm for the game industry. We value quality over quantity, transparency, communication, and diversity. We partner with companies, creatives, and programmers to understand the why behind their needs. Today, we have Negar Shaghaghi with us. Negar is the CEO and co-founder of Auxworld, a game technology company that wants to close the gap between social media and gaming. She has been an AI product leader for the past 6 years. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad that we could meet at GamesBeat.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad that we met.
Can you tell everybody a little bit more about your company and your game?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Auxworld, which is our first game, is an online multiplayer game that allows players to generate infinitely new dream worlds from what's trending in the world. Like you said, we always wanted to close this gap between social media and gaming. We find social media fascinating in the way that it connects people to culture. And if you look at a typical day in a young person's world, they toggle between social media and games. Social media is a good way for them to connect to culture, but most of the time their engagement is very passive. You kind of just look at it. And we always had this thesis that the best way to experience a situation is through play. So we created Auxworld because of it. We wanted people to have the same experience they have on social media. It's always something new in front of you. We understand what triggers people, what motivates people, different people liking different things, and wanted to bring that into an immersive and fun gameplay.
And so the game learns more about you and what you like throughout the process and then tailors it for you, or you're controlling it and telling it what you want to see, or both?
Yeah, so your first starting point as a player is a social trend. So, you might be interested in a music or song that's playing, a movie that's recently come out, or generally TikTok hashtag. So our system knows these trends and creates a game based off of that. So we don't want people to concern themselves with the labor of creation. We just want to know what they're interested in today, which might change. They might not be interested in tomorrow, but that's why we have this adaptive system. You kind of give it a starting point. Hey, here's what I'm interested in. And then you dive into a game session. And as you play, we kind of learn more about what you're interested in, what kind of experiences you're interested in, and try to tune it to your preferences.
Can you talk about what led you to starting this and your journey to get here so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually come from a very weird background. I started in music and entertainment. Me and one of the founders, we made a movie. This is in 2009 back in Iran. It was about underground music scene in Iran, and when the movie won a prize in Cannes, it meant that we couldn't go back to our country. So we were exiled, and we had to go and live in the UK. We lived in London. We created music for a while, and we were always interested in culture, music, movies, and the strong pull that it has on people. But also gaming as a form of entertainment was very interesting for us. I think we brushed with gaming in many different ways. We used gaming as a way for people to experience music in a spatial way. I used game technology to build a health simulation system, which was basically allowing people to play what if scenarios, like what if you have this kind of lifestyle or that lifestyle, and it kind of showed you how your body will turn out. So it is a great way to bring people to understand a situation. So that's kind of how we got into gaming. And Isabella, my co-founder, has been a game designer for many years. She's created a lot of fun games. Some of it we were obsessed with playing during COVID. And then later in life, I got very interested in data. And I took a degree in data science with a machine learning kind of pathway, and kind of like got involved in the more kind of the dry data parts. So Auxworld is a kind of combination of our experience, our fascination with culture, and how data plays into it. And yeah, here we are.
I like that it's all of your passions. And so one of your co-founders you met in Iran, and then how did you connect with Isabella?
So Isabella, we met in London. I think maybe it was like 5-6 years ago. We connected over a project which was creating the world's first fully automated virtual singer. So we kind of had this idea of music being something that can be personalized to different tastes, and it can kind of take cues from how people experience music. And we wanted to create this kind of fully automated virtual character that uses kind of generative AI to make music and lyrics and kind of evolve on its own based on how people interact with it. And Isabella had a very good background in CGI, and we kind of connected then and understood a lot about the complexities of how to apply AI to this consumer product, what is the delivery of it. And we always wanted to plug this a virtual character inside a game engine, and that's kind of how that idea evolved into kind of Auxworld being a more holistic experience. We still use a lot of the learnings from that project and we bring it into Auxworld, but it kind of turned into more holistically how we look at games and how can they be adaptive with data.
And I feel like it must be so much easier to work and start a company with someone you've had this great working relationship with for a while.
Absolutely. I think good companies are built on trust, and I feel like that's something that all of us have, and that kind of collaborative nature. When you have the trust, it makes it so much easier
and fun, even if it's a lot of work. So much work.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the future of AI meets the future of games and the future of social media and how you view all of that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, AI in gaming. A lot of the trends that I see with new companies coming out, most of them are very much focused on accelerating existing pipelines. So allowing more people to be game creators, or generating assets faster. Anything you want can come into being. And I think there's a lot of value in doing that, making process of making games faster, more accessible to people. But I think there is a big assumption hidden there. And that assumption is that a lot of people want to create games. Our experience with Auxworld was when we first started, we basically put an empty box in front of people. And we were like, type what kind of game you want. And we found out that people were divided in two groups. Some of them were creative. They already had a very specific idea of what kind of game they want. And a lot of the times they were disappointed with the constraints. They wanted zero constraint on the platform. And then there were people who were players and just wanted to have fun. And this kind of empty box, even if it would make anything you want, was a bit daunting to them. So we realized that not many people want to create, but there is still this desire for consuming more and more content, new things, and that's what draws people to social media. There's no effort when you open your TikTok. There's something already in front of you, and it's through you interacting with that content that the platform kind of tunes itself and puts the right thing in front of you the more you use it. So that's kind of how we believe AI is going to be important or interesting, which is more focused on the play experience. How can we give people this kind of infinite possibilities so that there's always something new, there's something that they're familiar with, it has a hint in the real world, but they also don't have to work for it. And I think that creates a lot of opportunities. If you think about how other platforms have brought culture into games, for example, the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite, they're all very long processes, a lot of convoluted licensing agreements, a lot of things that have to work for a piece of culture, which is Travis Scott, to come into Fortnite. And we believe that there's so many different elements when it comes to culture. It's the vibe, it's the music. Yes, it's the IP, but it's a small part of it. So what we wanted to create was, how can we bring all these cultural cues into the game? And I think there's a big opportunity there.
I have a spicier question. How are you dealing with just trademark issues and copyright issues in the world of AI? How do you train your AI to avoid that?
Yeah, so our art is all in-house. We're going to open our platform to get other people's, for people to submit basically their art to the platform. So that's something that we're looking at. So we don't really kind of infringe upon copyright, or at least haven't the platform is not in that situation that we would have those concerns. It's, for us, it's all about vibes. So you kind of use a piece of music, or a song, or a movie, not for its IP, but for the vibe that it creates. For example, if you are thinking about Stranger Things, it's dark, it's moody, maybe it has like a kind of atmospheric music to it. It's raining, and you have to like do your quest in that kind of environment. So it kind of creates that association. But we also think that there is a good opportunity for us to bring in branded assets, but we are aware of the complexities that come with obtaining licenses and so on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited to see your future collaborations with big brands or big DJs, or who knows. There's definitely a new world for that. What companies are you really inspired by that you feel like are moving the needle in terms of user-generated content or AI in games, or even just really pushing the industry forward? I feel like there's so much innovation right now. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the older platforms like Fortnite and Roblox, I think they're doing a really great job in incorporating these tools. A lot of the times, especially in the case of Roblox, I think it's such an outlier that they kind of like define their own rules. For example, the way that they're on App Store. And I think it's very hard to replicate that for a lot of other companies, but it's always good to see how making the process of creation much easier, what would it lead up to? I think we will see a lot of niche content that people didn't really think there is a time and a place, and it could have failed. You allow these kind of niche content to come out and find their foothold. So I think still these platforms are really interesting to see. I think there's a lot of value in asset generation companies creating a 3D mesh. I think we're still not there. A lot of them are not game ready, and still a lot of manual work has to be done on it to make it game ready. But I think for once we get there, there's going to be a lot of value in that. And I'm starting to see more and more companies that are thinking about player experience. For example, Hidden Door is a good one. Although they're in a very different genre, I think it's very good to see people thinking about using AI beyond accelerating production pipelines and kind of thinking about, can we imagine play and play experience in a way that it wasn't possible before? So it's exciting. I mean, when you think about gaming itself, it's so new compared to cinema. And, we're like at the very, very beginning of seeing AI being applied in this space. So it's going to be interesting the next few years.
Yeah, and they're really exciting. People can have customized experience, like you said. And I like the idea of social media and games converting and everybody playing games too, right? I mean, however many years ago, maybe when we were kids, I think it was less common for everybody to play games, but now it's so universal.
Yeah, absolutely. More than 3 billion people. It's not a small crowd.
It is. Who do you think, or maybe who's your target audience? Is it the same players as a Roblox or Fortnite or different entirely?
So our target audience is mostly social gamers, people between 17 to 24, I would say, and people who are looking at games as a means for communication. Because I think with the live service games coming, gaming is shifting from being just an artistic vision that still exists with a lot of indie games. They're exploring a lot of creative concepts, and it's so fascinating to see and play. And I think that's always going to be there. But we have also seen this kind of new category of games emerging where they're more kind of for communication, socialization. When you think about a platform like Roblox, to me, it's firstly a place for you to hang out with your friends, and then you play the games that are there. You're not there just because of the games. So this kind of shifting role of gaming is very interesting. And I think we're kind of targeting that side, people who want to express themselves through games, people who are thinking about sharing. One of the interesting stats that I want to share is that 1 in 4 gamers are interested in sharing game content or becoming influencers. So it kind of goes to show a lot of people find memes inside the game. We're seeing a lot of users are using Auxworld, like there's funny moments, and it's kind of we can see that coming out, which is interesting. And for our platform, we're seeing about 10% of the people who join our platform are game streamers. They range from small, with only a handful of followers to thousands and thousands. And the way that they're using Auxworld is collaborating with their communities. So what kind of games should we play? What is going on in the world? Like Barbie movie coming out. Can we turn that into a game that we can all enjoy? So that has been very interesting insights, and I think we want to really capture that audience.
Do you have any memorable stories or experiences that have come out so far from people playing the game?
Memorable. I think the one of the funny things that happen usually during streaming Auxworld is because you have 20 minutes to find your way. There's a portal. You're in this dream, and you have about 20 minutes to find your way out of the portal. You have to stack different objects that you find in your environment and go up. And I remember there was one live stream session, and it's 30 seconds left to kind of your timer being up. And Chewy, who was streaming the game, is walking on the thinnest log of wood, very far from the ground. And everyone was just like, please don't fall, please don't fall. And in the end, he fell. And he had to just climb back up within 5 seconds to make his way out of the portal. And everyone was just like, no, you're going to make it. So we've seen a lot of those kind of fun moments. Will he make it? Will he not make it? Yeah.
What other feedback are you getting so far? I know we're recording in November and this will come out a bit later, but what are people saying so far?
I think one of the interesting things people have said is around the vibe. People really like the balance between casually exploring the world, but you also are up against the clock, and every time based on different trends, you see the world changing, and the objects that you used to climb is very different. But the vibe is something that we get a lot from the people, especially around the music. One of the things that we do is we match music to the sentiment of a trend. For example, the kind of music that you see, it kind of matches really well with the world. So, when you're in that world for that 20 minutes, you really immerse into experiencing a vibe, be that like a bit like horror and scary or very chill. So that has been one of the more interesting feedback that I've got.
What were some of the biggest surprises or challenges to get your game out in the wild?
I think anyone who has experience making games knows that game marketing and going to market is a big part of your innovation. And I think lesson learned is that you basically have to innovate the same way that you innovate in your technology, in how you want to capture audience and how do you keep them coming back. And I think thinking and being obsessed with those questions helped us a lot in building our technology, because the game, from the moment that we started to the kind of not the final product but the kind of launchable product, it went through a lot of iterations. And I think that we constrained the technology so much more because we wanted to optimize for retention and giving people a reason to come back, and what really drives people to play a game. Because at the end of the day, I think players don't really care about the technology that you've used underneath. They
Yeah.
just want a fun experience, and the technology is just the how of that. So I think that was a big lesson. I was surprised to see how many content creators are interested in this game. It was good to see how they use it and how they're getting value out of it. For instance, one of the people who streamed our game gained 1,000 followers after. And this kind of seeing these metrics made us really think, okay, there's a lot of value for content creators or people who are looking for just chatting, or doing kind of more casually connecting with their audience, which was not initially the target demographic that we were going after.
So you had some pivots always.
Yeah.
How did you land on 20 minutes? Was that really a hard decision? Did you go back and forth a lot?
Um, I think we played around with that number quite a bit. There's not a scientific reason for 20 minutes. I think it came after a lot of play testing, to kind of like seeing, okay, what is the point? At what point do people might lose interest, or they might drop off if something doesn't happen? So there was a lot of tweaking based on just watching different people playing. And even when does the enemy comes, because after 10 minutes you have enemies coming. So if you fall, the stakes are higher. Now you have to kill the enemies as well. I think a lot of it was just from watching people playing, and making it shorter or longer.
Yeah, player feedback. Can you talk to me about your development process and how you incorporated player feedback, and at what stage? The whole time? I know it's really challenging for people that make games to
Yeah.
show their game when it's not necessarily ready to people and get feedback.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because a lot of the times, I think games being such artistic visions, traditionally, it's a lot of the times you kind of want to, as a designer, as an artist, want to really polish your game and then put it out. And I think that creates a lot of risk for you because it's hit or miss, but it's also very hard to like let go of your creation. And us being from, I have worked with other software for many years, and I've seen, software kind of going out without a big bang and iterating and kind of adapting. And if we have a system that can easily be adapted, so, the cost of making changes or tweaking is not that high, I think there's not a lot of reasons for you to hold back because it's much more beneficial to go out early, even if it's not finished, seeing the feedback and, tweaking based off of that. The way that we built our system was always with those analytics and behavior cues built into the product. So we kind of constantly monitor that feedback loop, and the feedback feeds back into the product. So it's kind of part of the main product that we have. But yeah, I think we went out very early. We knew that there's bugs. We knew that it might be glitchy at points. But I was also very surprised in a nice way how supportive people were. We collect feedback from people, both qualitative and quantitative, and people are very supportive, and they go beyond your early bugs and glitches and really pay attention to the play experience. And if it's fun, they keep coming back.
Yeah, I think that's what so many people have found. How are you thinking about maintaining this community that you've built and nurturing it as you grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think this idea of connecting the game to social trends, I think as different things around the world shifts and different concepts come in, Auxworld is always going to be new. So we kind of envision this platform to be a platform for discovery of culture and experiencing it in the same place. It's a little bit the same as how TikTok became the number one platform for people to discover music and not Spotify. And that was always very interesting to me, how that happened. And I think it's when they took music and kind of put it on a dance or a kind of an experience that you as the user are making. It's not just about that piece of music. So that's kind of how we seeing it. I think it's something that evolves with the world, so there's always something new. But also we constantly do updates in terms of skins, unlockables, packs, and we're very excited to work with other artists and brands to kind of make this experience fresh.
That's exciting. Can you talk a little bit about how you have raised investment and what you've learned throughout your fundraising journey?
Yeah, for sure. I think getting investment in the space of gaming has always been challenging. And I think what investors are very wary about is content risks. A lot of the times, games that come out are either hit or miss, and this is a big risk for investors. So anyone who's fundraising, I think de-risking that for investors can go a long way. One of the things that I've learned is having those initial user metrics is very important, especially if they could be benchmarked with some, industry averages. That's always super helpful and will help investors make a decision easier, because it's not. I think either you fall into the category where the technology is extremely novel, and some investors are interested in funding very novel technologies. A lot of the other investors who maybe invest in consumer or invest in more kind of experience side of things will need to see traction. And I think especially with gaming, I think retention metrics are super important. If you are building a game that the community is small, but that community finds this game sticky, I think that will be very reassuring in terms of the future of that game.
What metrics make a game sticky? What percent do you think people are targeting? What defines sticky?
Yeah, I think sticky game is a game that people come back to. A lot of games, I think we see this a lot with UGC games, for example. They are played only once, or for example, if you have a loop, it's good to see, do people complete the quest? Like going back to your point earlier about how do you decide that 20 minutes, because everyone who is in the field of entertainment, I would say, we're competing with a very scarce time that someone has during their day. It's, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours in a day that they want to watch a movie, they want to play a game, hang out with their friends, spend time on social media. So everyone, considering the number of companies in the space who are competing for that scarce timeshare, so optimization, even the minutes and the seconds become very very important. And I think game industry doesn't have a supply problem. There is a ton of different things for people to choose from, but there is a demand problem. How do you make someone to come back to your game? What is the value add that you're offering to them? One interesting thing that I see is a lot of brands want to come and make game experiences, and they use platforms like UEFN or Roblox to make a game, and you have like a big artist name attached to it, and hundreds of thousands of dollars is spent on making that game, and one time people come to it and never go back. So that's kind of very telling, that how you do that. And I think that's ultimately the one thing that comes from creativity and your game design approach, that what is that one loop that's going to be fun, easy to play. The learning curve is not a lot, so you don't have to think about it too much, but it's at the same time sticky enough. And I think it comes with experimentation, trying one game loop. Does it work? Does it not? Why do people drop off? And then adjusting and adjusting. And the more these iteration cycles are shorter and cheaper, I think eventually the game will be sticky. The problem is a lot of the times games can't afford to make so many experiments.
Or spend crazy amounts of money and then are so deep in their game before they get any player feedback.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
I've seen that lately. It's interesting. So nice that you do it from the start. What are you most proud of? What's been the highlight in your entrepreneurial journey so far?
I think the highlight, I would say, for any entrepreneur is when people start using your product. Because I think when you start, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of, will this work? Will this not work? It's just you and your co-founders thinking about this, like, oh, probably this is a bad idea, but we really want to do it. And then when you put it out there and you see, oh, people are joining our Discord, people are making content from our game, people want to stream our game and they're playing it and they're coming back to playing it. I think that is the best reward that anyone can ask for.
Yeah, very true. Where do you see your company going in the next couple years? Are there any teasers of things to look forward to?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm most looking forward to is the game being multiplayer. We started this game with that in mind. Right now is a single player, so you're kind of up against the clock to make your way out of the world. But we know that having a multiplayer experience is going to be so much fun. And also, what I'm really interested in to see how how people come and experience culture through gaming, because I think that's going to be very interesting, bringing that experience of the world directly into the immersiveness of playing a game is something very interesting. So I'm looking forward to see how that develops.
I'm looking forward to it too. I have one last question before I ask it. I want to point people to your website, auxworld.app. The last question I got from Wiggy, Women in Games International, but their programs are about, I wish I knew X at Y stage in my career, is they call it a cheat code. So people don't have to make your mistakes. They can make their own other mistakes, right? But what kind of cheat codes or learnings do you have that you could share?
Yeah, I think I said this a bunch of times, but go out early. I think going out early and getting feedback is the best way to maximize your chances of success.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking to Negar Shaghaghi, CEO and co-founder of Auxworld. Negar, where can people go to contact you or learn more about you or play your game?
So to play the game, Auxworld is available on PC. So just head over to www.auxworld.app to download for PC. And we are on Discord with the same name, Auxworld. You can find us on Discord. And yeah, please join our community.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for listening to the show this week. To catch all the latest from Here's Waldo, you can follow us on LinkedIn. Be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes. We'll see you next time.